Hey, what's up, guys? It's Dave. I've been playing a ton of Witchfire recently on stream. I kind of picked it up as an October spooky season. It kind of meets the spooky aesthetic. It's kind of got great gunplay that I saw in previews. It's got great Steam reviews. And I'm usually a pretty big fan of Souls-likes and roguelikes and extraction-based games, which this game kind of blends all three together. And I think it does it really well. The game's currently just in early access, so not all of the content is available. They do have a release planned for sometime in 2026, and they have a roadmap out, and it looks great. It looks like the full release of the game is going to be fantastic. It probably took me about 35 hours to get through all of the main content in the game. Like I said, still in early access, so not everything's been ironed out. And I did want to make a video for you guys really quick, just because I do think my biggest critique of the game is the new player experience. I think some of the systems just aren't explained as well as they could be. Again, games in early access, it's not the biggest of deals, but I do think some of the systems could be explained a bit better. I'm sure they will improve upon that for their actual 1.0 release, but I kind of just want to make a video for people that are maybe thinking about getting Witchfire, or maybe you are a new player, you just picked up Witchfire and you're a little confused. So I just wanted to talk about 5 things that I wish I had known when I started playing this game that would have made my experience way smoother. So the first thing that I want to talk about is literally the first thing that you're going to do in this game, which is picking a class. They're called prayers in this game, and there's 6 options currently. There might be more on release, but if you're anything like me, you just hate the process of picking a class because it's just so stressful. You don't want to get stuck with something that you're going to hate in like 6 hours and be forced to reroll or just keep slogging on with a class that you hate. So the process is pretty similar to like Souls games, for example, but there is one twist that I kind of want to talk about in more detail. So there's 6 options currently in the game. There might be more on full release, but for right now, there's 6. And if you've played Souls likes before, the process is kind of similar here, where you've got your 4 classes on the left that kind of nudge you in a certain playstyle. You got Butcher, Hunter, Slayer, Shadow, and all of these are going to have certain stats and certain attributes that just kind of nudge you towards that playstyle. It's also going to have you starting gear that nudges you in that playstyle. It's not anything that you can't necessarily change later on, but at least at the beginning, yeah, you're going to be kind of playing this certain playstyle that you've picked here. The ones that I want to focus on, though, that I think are probably going to be the most commonly chosen classes are the Saint and the Penitent. The reason being, and sorry that Penitent is being blocked by my camera, but Saint is beginner friendly. That's the only description they give. And Penitent, the only description they give is warning, not beginner friendly. So if we click on Saint here, you can kind of see why it's beginner friendly. At first, you might be like, okay, it's starting level 1, which is less than the Butcher, for example. I don't get how that's beginner friendly, but I'm telling you, it's all in the starting gear. And you can't possibly know this if you're a new player or if you've never played the game before. But this starting gear is so godly. It's really not funny. Um, it's truly like being born on third base. It makes the game a totally different experience. You get this demonic weapon, this vulture crossbow. You get a heavy spell. You get a relic. I'm telling you, this is all stuff that you could be using towards like the end of the game. Like this stuff is so good, and it actually takes a little bit of grinding, unlike maybe Souls games where it's like, okay, if I choose Pentiment, which we'll see now is kind of like, okay, you starting level 1 and you just get a pistol. But maybe in a Souls game, yeah, I clear out the first little area and now I've got a lot of levels and I've got gear. And it's really kind of like not that big of a deal to start out with nothing in a Souls game. If you choose Pentiment and Witchfire, it's going to be a bit more of a grind until you actually unlock some of these things that you would have for Saint, like the demonic weapon and the heavy spell and the relic. Um, it's just a lot more. And I'll also tell you, I think you should pick Pentiment, which I think you'll probably sit there and say, why on earth would I do that? It says it's beginner not friendly. I'm telling you, I re-rolled from Saint to Pentiment because it just feels like Saint, there's not the same natural progression of the game. You just kind of load in. and you're just blasting things. And I think Pentiment gives you a bit more natural progression of the game. You learn the mechanics a bit better, I think, early on because you're forced to, because you just have a pistol, you have no spells, you have nothing. I think Pentiment gives you kind of also this more sense of accomplishment, I guess, and just like you unlock things. And it's like, it's a, I just think, more enjoyable experience. And I'm telling you, if you've played roguelikes, if you've played soul games, it's not that difficult. It's not gonna be that difficult. I know it says warning, not beginner friendly, but my maybe a hot take, but my biggest tip is like if you want to actually express, if you're one of those people that wants to unlock everything in the game naturally, don't pick Saint. You're just going to start with stuff that you may never switch off of. Like, I genuinely think you could play through the entire game and not switch off the starting gear. That's how good it is. If you want a more classic experience where you start with very bad gear, no gear, and you unlock the better stuff as time goes on, pick Penitent. So the first actual in-game mechanic that I'm gonna give a tip for is actually the just most important one, which they do a unfortunately really bad job of explaining right now in game. Like I said, early access. I'm sure they'll get that ironed out, but this is genuinely the most important mechanic in the game. You need to know about it. So if you go to your basics on your HUD, it's gonna show you who would have guessed it, the basics. So you go down to the top or the bottom left and you're going to get your health and stamina bars. The health is the lower bar, it's white, it's thicker, and on top of that, it's going to be a stamina bar. Right now in this HUD screen, it's yellow because it's full. It's not always going to be yellow. There's actually two sections of it. So you kind of have your normal stamina, and then you have an added section. And as you can see, it says here, it regenerates over time and grows a bonus section through combat. What does that mean? It doesn't tell you. So basically, enemies do damage to you, that bonus section is going to get smaller. You kill enemies, that section is going to get bigger. And once it actually gets full, like it's seen in this picture, it'll be yellow. And that will give you focus mode. And it kind of tells you here that focus gives you heightened perception with many benefits. And that's all it tells you. So I don't, like I said, there's a tutorial in the game right now. Unfortunately, it just doesn't tell you what that means. I'm going to tell you. So I'm in the training range and I'll show you. You can see in the bottom left, my focus mode is activated. You can tell that because my stamina bar is full, it's yellow, it's ready to go. What does focus mode actually do? So you don't have to be um, ADSing, aim down sight, on the enemies. You just kind of have to have your cursor hovering over them. You can kind of see my cursor is red now. If I lift it off of them, it's white. So it just has to be red. Some people ADS, and I just feel like that is just unnatural for doing this. But basically, you have to have your cursor over the enemy, and then you have to dash. So if you do that, it's going to put that mark next to them. See that? And you can dash in any direction. You can dash forward. You can dash to the left. I just dashed in the pillar, but it still did it. Um, and then you just are going to shoot that mark that pops up. So you're going to dash. Hopefully, it gives me one that's on the ground. You're going to shoot that. It's going to stun him, and then you're just going to plow him. You can't really tell because of this enemy's health, but you do a ton more damage when an enemy is stunned. So what does this focus mode do? You dash when you have it with your cursor on the enemy. It's going to put this mark up. You shoot the mark and it stuns them. You're going to do way more damage. This is wildly helpful for enemies that have more health specifically. If you're going against an enemy with a lot more health than this and you have focus mode, it's going to be so much easier. You just so the game kind of has this, you know, two in one mechanic where you're going to go into these extractions. You're only going to have 3 elixirs. I have 4 right now because I have a rosary bead on that gives me an extra one, I believe. You're not going to have much health. So if you get hit, that already sucks because it's hard to find health in these extractions. But it also sucks because you're not going to be in focus mode. You need to be in focus mode as much as possible because that way you can do more damage to these enemies. Another tip that I have for this is don't get obsessed with focus mode, especially when you're going against enemies with this low of health. You can kind of see with this weapon, I just plowed this guy in one shot. So, like, sure, is it helpful? I guess that it is stunning him. If it would give me a nice thing. Sure, I guess, but the extra damage is totally meaningless. I just plow this guy with this gun, for example, and this enemy's health. I can just one tap this guy. So you should know your damage capabilities of your gun and just kind of the situation that you're in, if you need to stun enemies or not, because you are genuinely wasting ammo in situations like this. Like it takes me two shots, obviously, if I go into focus mode and I, dash and I go through this whole process of hitting the mark and then shooting him. I've used two bullets and I've also probably put myself in a bit of a worse position because you do kind of have to like focus on an enemy and dash somewhere, and you might dash somewhere that you don't actually want to go. So just be cognizant of that. Focus mode, you just have to master this mechanic, but you don't want to get obsessed with it. There's a lot of enemies that it just makes more sense just to blast them. So the third thing I want to talk about is just how scary the game makes leveling up your Gnosis level out to be, when in reality, it's just a humongous upgrade to you as a player that I just don't think has like any downsides whatsoever. You should not be scared to increase your Gnosis level at all. Your Gnosis level is kind of like your progression of the game. So you'll unlock the entirety of the Hermitarium and you'll go down to this basement area and you'll go to this book and it'll have these quests for you to do, and it'll be like, but beware, increasing your Gnosis level is the scariest thing that's known to man. And look here, you're gonna get more enemies and traps and dangers. And I think a lot of people mistake this for like a difficulty setting. Like if you imagine Gnosis 0, which is what you start at, that like going to Gnosis 1 is kind of like increasing the difficulty of the game, but that's not what it is actually at all. I understand that the game makes it seem scary. Like once you even get to this screen, even once you go to the next Gnosis level, it's like there will be consequences for this. And it makes it seem like your dog's gonna get kicked or something. Going up Gnosis levels is how you upgrade your character. It's how you get new gear. I understand it says that, but it really has no downsides, and it's such a power boost to your character. And a lot of the new enemies and dangers and things like that, sure, it's more variety of enemies that, and they're, I guess technically it's a bit tougher, but the amount that you outpace the enemies when you go up in Gnosis levels is right now pretty dramatic. I always recommend going to the Gnosis book, looking at the quests that you need to do and knocking them out. You increase your Gnosis level, you're going to get more stuff that you can use, more guns. It's how you get demonic weapons, it's how you get heavy spells in the very beginning. You should really be focusing on leveling up your Gnosis. Don't be scared that, oh, I'm just a very low level. What level should I be to upgrade my Gnosis to 3 or anything like that? Upgrade your Gnosis. Don't wait. Just go. You're going to get more upgrades. You're going to get more areas that allow you to get more Witchfire that allows you to level up faster. It's just in every way, it's just kind of, you just need to do it. That's all I can. Don't be scared. Don't let the book scare you. Don't let the game scare you. Going up in Gnosis is really only a benefit for you. So the next system that I wanted to explain a little bit is this flame system. We're in the Hermitorium again, right outside this main door, and there's this focus on the flame section. You're not going to really unlock this till a bit later in the game, maybe midway through the content currently. And I don't know what it was about how this system is described and wording, but again, I'm pretty dumb. I didn't get it at first. Now when I look back at it, I think it's worded probably maybe fine, but for whatever reason, I could not understand the system at first. So maybe this will be helpful to you. So we're all gathered around the campfire here, and you can kind of see these three ghosts that are gathered around here with me. How do you get these ghosts to show up? Well, you have to find their masks first. Right now, there's three masks. You can kind of see that there's more crater spots here around this campfire. So I'm guessing that they're going to add more ghosts, specters, prayers, whatever you want to call them in the future. But you have to find all three shards to a ghost's mask. Fallen prayers mask is what they're technically called, for them to show up here. So, like Goliath, for example, you can see the fallen prayer Goliath. Once you find all three shards to his mask, you're going to have the option to call him here. So you hold E on this, and he's going to become physical. He's going to look like Bane from Batman, and he's ready to go. And what do I mean by ready to go? I mean, if we pull up the map here and you look in the top right corner, how it has Goliath symbol here and it has remaining boons at 0. Well, Goliath says he's gonna be summoned during a time of serious need. That means that he's gonna be automatically summoned if you have anything more than 0 remaining boons and you're in a time of serious need, which means that your health is low. Um, so if you don't want Goliath to show up, you need to make sure he's not summoned here and you need to retire him. Because if he is here, he's in the flesh, and you have remaining boons and you get low on health, he's going to show up. You do not manually call him. He's just going to show up. So if you want to save your boons for a rainy day, you don't want Goliath to help you, you want to him for some harder content, you need to retire him. That's a pretty key part of this system. So let's say we call all of these fine gentlemen here, and we can kind of see they're all gathered around now, and they all do different things. Like I said, Goliath, he'll show up when you have low health, and then Elias, he's going to show up if there's a calamity, and Cain's going to show up when you're fighting bosses. So they're all kind of gathered around here. Remember, they're going to show up automatically now if you have boons. How do you get boons? Well, if we go to focus on the flame here, you're going to see these options. This option is grayed out because I'm already seeking prayer echoes, but you're going to click on this option and it's going to cost like 1,000 Witchfire, I think. And then you're going to get this quest if you press X in the top right here that's for collecting echoes. So it says that events reward echoes and killed enemies have a small chance to drop an echo. So that means that we need to complete events and then we need to kill enemies during that. And we're going to get echoes for doing that. And then once we have enough echoes, it says here you need a minimum of 10. You're going to be able to make an offering. You're also going to see here in the bottom left, according to whatever Gnosis level you are, is going to actually determine how many boons you get for every prayer echo that you actually drop off. So the higher Gnosis level you are, the more boons you're actually going to get. And then you're actually just going to accumulate boons over time by doing this entire process. And like I said, this if this number is above 0 and you have these gentlemen summoned, they'll show up. And then obviously every time they show up, it'll take a boon away from you. So this is actually a multi-step process that's kind of automated once you get it going. But like I said, it's a process of going and getting these masks, the shards to their masks, collecting them, bringing them back here, and then paying Witchfire so that you can get prayer echoes, and then going and collecting prayer echoes, and then bringing them back so you can deposit them and get boons, and then it will just automatically take it from there whenever you trigger one of the, you know, low health or calamity or fighting a boss, they're going to show up and they're going to help you out. So, my last tip for you guys is kind of a two for one. It has to do with calamities and the collector. So, let's talk about calamities for a second. The game makes calamities out to be the scariest thing on planet Earth. Like these are just so dangerous and you just want to avoid these all at all costs. But I think they are great resources for a couple of different reasons. One, when you go into most expeditions, there's going to be treasures on the ground, and you're going to have the option either just to take that treasure and kind of build up. It's going to like curse you. It's going to give you a curse risk, and that can build your calamity counter. You see this calamity counter in the top left. If you take enough of those treasures, it's going to build your calamity counter and probably trigger a calamity. The only other option is just to not take the gold item, or you can cleanse it, but cleansing it costs Witchfire, and I don't think it's usually a good idea, like ever, ever, never really a good idea to use Witchfire to cleanse it. I just recommend you take as many of these treasures as you can and you build the calamity because when the calamity arrives, it's going to basically send usually like 15 weak enemies up to like one really tough enemy to try and kill you. And if you beat the calamity, you're also going to get rewards. So you can get rewards in form of gold from picking up these treasures, and you can get rewards from defeating the calamity. And the calamity is just not as tough as it seems. It's also going to spawn this sanity bar. This sanity bar is nothing. I promise you, it says that its full depletion deals heavy damage. The heavy damage that is dealt to you from the depletion of the sanity bar is the equivalent to like a 12-year-old at a birthday party hitting you with a pool noodle in the back of your leg. It's absolutely nothing. The sanity bars, at least right now, maybe this will change in the future, but sanity is nothing to worry about. Calamities, I think in general, are great ways to farm rewards. So once you have enough gold, you can visit this distinguished gentleman. This guy's name's the Collector. Right now, he's outside. He's usually kind of in this Gnosis tome kind of area back here, just sitting in a dark corner, just moaning. Sometimes he makes it outside for some fresh air. So if we go up to trade with this fine gentleman, we can kind of see that he's selling items and it's usually for a combination of gold and witchfire, which is why I don't recommend that you spend witchfire to cleanse treasure items in your maps because you're going to need both. You obviously need witchfire for a lot more than just buying items from the collector, but there are some really nice items from this collector that I kind of want to talk about for a second. One is supply chest keys. You're going to find supply chest keys out on maps. I also recommend that you just buy them here if you don't have any or you're low because it's just such an insane value. One gold coin and 1,000 witchfire for one supply chest key. You can get a bunch of gold out of these things. They can be very helpful to you when you're in expeditions. You pretty much never want to come across a supply chest while you're in a map and not have a key for it. That's just kind of the worst feeling on earth because you can get so much out of them and they're just such good value here. So I also want to talk about the placebo pill because I think this is a really great item for the value that you get it at. And it kind of has a bit of a confusing description that you need to know a couple of different mechanics to really understand. So it says that it fakes the ascension, tricking any witch into reorganizing her defenses. All that's really saying is when you go onto a map and you see where all the skulls are placed and where all the defenses are placed and everything like that, that only reshuffles under two circumstances. One, you kill the witch's familiar on the map if there is one, or you level up, you ascend. So if you're not doing either of those, you're going to get the same kind of packs of enemies in the same places. So if you get just kind of a trash spawn on a map, and it gives you like a very hard path to whatever goal you're trying to accomplish. This placebo pill is only 1,000 witchfire and it can reorganize it. It makes so many different situations so much easier and it can save so many headaches if you just kind of have a lot of these on you and you can kind of just reorganize the map and get a good map layout. Good map layouts allow you to farm. If you get a good map layout for farming, like just get a nice kind of smooth transition from place to place where you can get a bunch of enemies, get a bunch of witchfire, and then kind of extract. That is chef's kiss. And then the last item that I want to talk about is the Portal Flame. It is a bit more expensive than the other items at 7 gold and 3,000 Witchfire, but it can be so helpful if you get into tough situations, like if you trigger a calamity at an inconvenient time, or if you aggro a few too many enemies. Having this kind of escape route can be so helpful. My biggest advice is when you get into a map is just clearing area by area. Do not train enemies. Do not aggravate a bunch of enemies and have a bunch of dudes chasing you. It's going to be a bad time. Usually, if you just go from area to area to area, that means you can also go back. So if you carve out a path and then you just make sure that you're getting mobs killed in each of those areas, you're always going to have an escape route. So if you trigger one of those calamities and you really don't think you can handle it, if you kind of follow this method of making sure you're slowly, methodically going through the map, you should just be able to turn around and go back to your portal flame. That flame's going to be open for a few minutes in the expedition, but I think it's always very helpful just to have one of these portal flames on you in case things go very wrong and you've been in there and your portal flame has expired and you can't possibly get to the other ones. You don't want to die in a bad spot. So just being kind of able to reactivate that and get out if something's been triggered that you can't deal with is also extremely helpful. So those are kind of 5 tips that I have for you guys. Um, Honestly, let me know if these are helpful or not, and I will keep making content like this. I've kind of just been streaming this game for the past month or so on Twitch and just decided to make a video about it. Like I said, I think these tips are helpful. Let me know if I missed anything. Um, Obviously, my first YouTube video ever Let me know any constructive criticism because I'm sure there is a lot that I could improve on, and I will keep making content for this game as updates kind of keep coming out. The next one, big one, will be 0.8, I believe, is going to be in December, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you enjoyed the video, obviously, I am streaming on Twitch usually every day, and I will keep making content if this is something people would be interested in. And I genuinely appreciate it if you made it to the end of this video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.